Welcome back to the Management Diary. This is where we get to have serious conversations on matters research, career, scholarship, and lifestyle. And in the conversation tonight, we are joined by one of the professors. I'm actually going to let her introduce herself at some point later. She's based here in Scotland. And in this conversation, we are going to discuss more about her journey and how she got where she is at the moment. Of course, you should get practical advice on how you're going to get into a research program, more preferably a PhD, and how you're going to navigate your journey through to the end. Welcome, Doc. How are you?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you for having me. I'm doing very well. And how are you?
I'm fine. I am inclined to ask, who is Dr. Inyene?
Well, who is Dr. Inyene? Um, Inyene Nkanta, which is my name. I'm a lecturer with the University of the West of Scotland. I am Nigerian. I'm a very proud one. I'm sure you can even see from my native, which is always what I wear everywhere that I go to. I'm a lecturer in circular economy and sustainability. And I think that's just who Dr. Inyene Nkanta is for now.
Yeah, for now, because we are just about to get full details about your experience. You know, I've been listening to a lot of your advice and content, and I usually find it very motivating and inspiring, even as I do my PhD. And I felt it would be very beneficial for you also, for me to invite you so that we can share this with my audience. Now, I'm curious, what is the most favorite part about your journey so far to become a lecturer?
My journey into academia wasn't a linear one. I'm going to say it wasn't linear. And I think this conversation, you having me today, it's very important for early career researchers to hear. PhD candidate, prospective. And like I already said, I'm originally from Nigeria. I'm sure I'm Nigeria. I don't like saying I'm originally from Nigeria. I am Nigerian, where education is held in a very high esteem. Nigerians are quite educated people. And like many other people, I initially pursued a career path in industry. I had worked in industry. And I remember in 2014, I sat back and I told myself, I think I need more. I think I need to go for a master's degree. And I remember I reached out to my friend. I said, I need to go for a master's degree. Can you recommend a university to me? And he recommended, and that's how I ended up in Coventry University. And I remember in Coventry University, my dissertation, I think in the department, I had the highest grade for my dissertation. And I remember my supervisor then had said, you need to go for a PhD. And I'm like, I don't think I want to do a PhD. And she said, no, you can't have this kind of grade and not go for a PhD. I think your research skills are good, and come for a PhD. But I went back home. I went back to Nigeria, but I think I just had the push in my spirit. And the fact that I come from an academic family, my father was a lecturer, God rest his soul. So deep down me, I would say I've always had this curiosity about how system works, particularly because what I did, my master's was on, I did master's on human resources, and I did my dissertation was around reward management. So I think I got interested about the psychological effect of how employees were, and I wanted to dig further. There was just this curiosity. But then when I came for my PhD, this is the funny part. I wanted to still do my PhD at Coventry University. However, I ended up not doing at Coventry University. I went to Wolverhampton University, and my supervisory team, my DOS, was sick for a while. This is a very interesting part of my PhD journey. And my second supervisor decided to introduce me to somebody who she felt, because she felt that it wasn't fair for me to have just one supervisor since my first supervisor was off sick. And she told me, she said, "Ian, I have a friend. He's even Nigerian." That's what she said. She's English. We work along together and very well. He could be your second supervisor and I'll be your first supervisor so you can have supervisory team. And I remember going to go and meet him. And my I'm gonna mention his name. Maybe he will ever see this video. Pascal. Pascal is an amazing person, but Pascal is a very brash person. Sometimes he says it the way it is. He just says it. And I remember him looking at my proposal and said, "What do you want to use this kind of what do you want to use this research for, Ileane? Are you just trying to leave Nigeria to come to the UK?" And luckily, the time I went, there was no word like Jakpa. I'm sure you've heard that word a lot from my Nigerian people. There was no word like that. And he said, "Ileane, you should do a PhD on something that is very relevant back in Africa, something that will make you relevant, that after your PhD, it's not just going to be your certificate, but you would be invited to places, your PhDs to speak for you and all." And he said, "Go and think about what's some of the problems in Africa and come back, let's talk about it." And I went and I thought about it. And I said, I think entrepreneurship is evolving right now in Africa. I think sustainability is evolving right now in Africa. And I think that just brought some curiosity, particularly around sustainability, circular economy, how businesses can be both profitable and also responsible at the same time. But I think I was more in tune into looking at female entrepreneurship. And because I just read something on a paper, on an article that evening, that Africa had the highest female entrepreneurs in the world, yet they were not contributing as much. And then I look back and like African women are very strong women. Why do we have so many entrepreneurs, so many female entrepreneurs, and we're not contributing so much to the economic development of the continent? And that sparked an interest. And I said, I think I'm going to do something on female entrepreneurship in Africa. And that was how it all began. And so what I came initially to do as my research, I dumped it and I went into entrepreneurship, which I do not in any way regret at all.
We are just
So,
about to come to how you pivoted into a new research area. But let me take you a step back. You mentioned your dad was a lecturer, and this
yes.
means you grew in an environment where education was valued. That's an assumption. You are open to correct me, and maybe it was more motivated and inspired. Like you have seen people around you do work around academia and research. Did this shape your view on where you wanted to pursue your career? Did you always want to be in academia?
To be very honest in this interview with you today, I don't think I really wanted to go into academia. I always wanted to work in a bank, which I did. I always wanted to work in a bank because I remember when I went with my mom when I was about maybe 7 years or 8 years into a bank, I kind of just admired the people who were in the bank for some reason. And I did tell myself at that age that I wanted to work in a bank. And I ended up in a bank. Academia, I used to admire my dad. I think what I used to admire him the most was when I'm going to the office with him and I'm packing his books and his name is boldly written Dr. Nkanta. And for some reason, I just admired that. And I've actually made a post on LinkedIn where when I got my job, I was so excited to see my name pasted on my door. And to my greatest shock, when I went, it was an open office where my line manager said, "Oh, that's your seat." And I was very disappointed because as a child, I just used to admire the fact that I go to my dad's office and his name is printed on the door. So I don't think I really wanted to go into academia, but I really used to admire my father. And but I think the that motivation came when my supervisor during my master's degree had told me, "I think you have some good research skills and a PhD would be something you should consider." So no, it's PhD was never what I was considering. I admired my father and I admired his discipline. I admired the fact that um, he was shaping, should I say, the young people. It's something that I really like, but I don't think it's something that I really wanted to do. But here am I today, and I love it.
About shaping the young and upcoming research generation. One of the main reasons we have these conversations, especially with people who have been through the process, like you here, is because we want to help these upcoming talents and researchers make informed decisions and understand what is happening in the research world. And having been a lecturer, you have either at least been actively involved in getting students on board. That's the recruitment process, or at least advising potential applicants to get to the next step. Now, we are going to talk through based on your experience and how things went. But if I am a prospect, a research prospect, what are these primary things that I should be prioritizing as I look into the direction where I want to take my research? Allow me to interrupt this conversation and bring something to your attention. Since we launched this podcast a few months ago, we've had over 50,000 people watching our episodes, which we are very thankful for, and over 12,000 hours. However, we are currently trying to build our audience so that we can get the leverage to invite more guests to our podcast and we can continue bringing more insights. As you can see in one of these slides, and I bet that's here, at least 80.7% of the people watching our podcasts are not subscribers to this channel. And what we are currently focusing on is building our audience. So I'm requesting that if you may like to support us, if you like what we are sharing, you support our channel by clicking that subscribe button so that we can grow. Our promise is to continue bringing you strong guests with more insights so that we can bring these conversations where you are.
Okay, so I'm one of the things that I'm going to say is from my own experience, and I'm going to be talking mostly to Africans here. I'm very passionate about Africans. I'm sure you've seen it on my videos and all. It's the first thing first is why do you want to do a PhD? That's the first question you should ask yourself. For some people don't really, they can't answer that question. And if you can't answer that question, if you then start a PhD, it becomes a big, it becomes more challenging because PhD is already challenging. And I remember one of the first things that I asked you was, how is it going for you for your PhD? And I remembered your answer. So PhD is already very challenging. And then you don't have a reason why you want to, because when you have a reason for something, that is what keeps you going every day. That's the fire that keeps you going. So the first thing I would say for any prospective applicant, why do you want to do a PhD? If you are able to answer that, then that's the first step. There are so many reasons why you want to do a PhD, but there are some people that I ask, why do you want to do a PhD? And the answers they give me just is mind-blowing. Some people will say, oh, to extend my visa. And all. You get to extend your visa and you get to start your PhD in 6 months. There's no motivation. And if you look at statistics, Joseph, this is statistics. This is not me saying it, that out of, I think, 5 PhD, about 2 or 2.5 will drop out. That's a large statistics of people who drop out from PhD. And for some reason, some of them, I know it's not everyone because life happens, things happen that could make people drop out. But for some, and especially people from Africa, I think it's mostly because they didn't really know the reason why they went into doing a PhD at the first. So the first thing is know what you want or know the reason why you want to do a PhD. And the second thing is passion is good. I always would say that passion is good, but passion is not everything. Passion would not put food on your table, not just passion that will put food on your table. Passion would not take you to some places that you would want to go to with your PhD. So I would tell anyone who is coming for a PhD, your research topic must be something that is emerging, must be something that is fundable. Can funders look at your PhD research and say, oh, we can stick our money to this person to fund this person because this is an interesting and emerging research that we need to see you can't solve the whole problem in the world as a PhD student. I know that, but you can contribute to knowledge one way or the other. And also, is your PhD sellable? And when I mean sellable, at the end of the day, when you finish your PhD, even if you can't get into academia, is it something you can get into industry with? Can you go into consulting? Because there are some PhD that you will just do, and you might never be able to get into industry because it's not even industry focused. You need to be very flexible. You need to pick a topic that is emerging. And one of the things I tell prospective candidates when they tell me, oh, Ian, I want to do a PhD. Someone has been chatting up with me on Instagram. And I said, go and look at the SDGs, all the SDGs. Try to coin a research topic based on the SDGs, because that's where the world is going to right now. You need to follow where the trend is going to. You cannot just come and do a research where somebody's like, who is interested in that? Nobody wants to know that. We're not interested in that. But come up with a research topic that somebody will say, I think this is a very interesting one. I'm intrigued to know more about this. So I would always tell prospective candidates, please, passion is good. Try to look for something that you are passionate about within the, I think is how many, we have 17 SDGs, if I'm correct, 16 or 17 SDGs. Try to find your passion within that. You can't tell me you can't find passion within that SDG and coin something that is emerging. And at the same time, I would always tell my Africans, try to find something that is a problem in Africa. The West already dealing with their problems. They've gotten solutions to their problem. We have too many problems in Africa. Find something in Africa. So that's what I would generally advise.
Let's talk about you as a PhD student. When did you start your PhD?
When did I start?
Yes.
Officially, I started my PhD in 2019. I was meant to start in 2018, but remember I said my supervisor was off sick for 6 months.
Yeah.
So that 6 months was waived off for me. So officially, I started my PhD June 2019.
So you are a fresh PhD student, just about to get into a COVID era also. I understand this was one of those challenges.
I got into COVID era.
Yeah, it must
We
have
are the
been.
COVID PhD students.
Must have been a nightmare because a lot of things shifted, a lot of things changed, right?
A lot of things changed. One of it was I lost my scholarship, like I already said.
Okay.
I lost my fundings.
So how then? Now I'm trying to imagine you. I may not be very accurate in this imagination. And I just traveled all the way from Nigeria. And you will furnish me more on your conditions when you traveled in and how your circumstances were. And the first thing I get to learn when I land in the UK is that now I'm in the UK and my scholarship is gone. So I don't have funds anymore to support my studies. What are you thinking at this time? What are you trying to do?
A lot of things, a lot of emotions, mixed emotions. Should I pack my bags and go? Should I? I think one of the things was when I got to find out that I'm losing my scholarship was close to almost a year, and I think I was progressing well with my PhD. And I did tell myself, I've done well this couple of months. Do I just pack my bags and go? And I told myself, I'm a black woman. Blacks don't crack. We always find ways in situations and all. And the good thing was that during COVID, remember that all the teaching had gone virtual online. And I was very strategic when I came to the UK. And I think maybe we'll talk about that later on. I was very, very strategic. So I was able to get some teaching positions, which I was teaching in my university as an associate lecturer. I was teaching in a college. But remember that we have 20 hours for our teaching. And I was teaching in a university in Birmingham, where the hourly paid was was good. I would say it was good and all. And because I didn't have to buy clothes, I didn't have to buy gas, I didn't have to pay boss, I didn't have to. So there were a lot of savings that I was able to make, and that was how I was able to pay not all the monies, but a certain amount of money towards my tuition, at least. And to tell you, one of the challenges, it got to a point where the university had logged me out of the system because I didn't pay my tuition, so I couldn't log in. And I remember they wanted to report me to Home Office to cancel my visa or curtail my visa. I think that's what it's called. And luckily, there was a family who, my supervisor was the one who saw that email. And he reached out to me and like, I'm seeing emails circulating here. And what is happening? I didn't see the email. I didn't have access to the email because the university had cut me out of the system. So I couldn't access my email. And he said, yeah, what's happening? I would advise if you can just get a certain amount of money just to make the commitment. And luckily, a family had raised me the money, £3,000, where I made the deposit. And that was how I was saved. But the good thing too was, after a year of my PhD, I got a job with UWS just after first year, which they sponsored my visa, moved me to a highly skilled visa. And I'm going to say this, and this is just when I'm loyal to UWS, sometimes people don't really understand. And maybe today this interview would go out there in the public. UWS actually cleared my tuition, what I was owing, everything for me. And that was how I became free.
I'm
So
thinking.
yes, it was challenging. And you remember that I was with a toddler alone in the UK. And I remember when I had my interview with UWS, I'll never forget where they asked I think they asked me, you would always do like micro teaching for every teaching job. You do a micro teaching. And I think what they asked me to do was what I wish I knew as a lecturer, as an academic before COVID. And I ended up my slide by saying that if anyone told me that it was going to be more demanding working from home, I probably would never have believed it. That my 3-year-old daughter doesn't speak well, because she had a bit of delayed speech, doesn't speak well. But the words that she keeps saying to me is, "Mommy, are you still working?" And that's all that girl used to say, because I was always on my laptop. Because I'm either teaching from running to teach on this college, running to teach in this university, doing this, my research at the same time, because I needed to put food on the table for her. I needed to put tuition fees down. So it was really, really hectic. But like I said, I was very strategic before getting into the United Kingdom, which really helped me to get my job at the time. I remember when I even got my job as a first year student, most of my colleagues who were doing PhD with me didn't believe that it was possible to get a job and switch your visa to a full-time lecturing role. So that's just a bit of, I don't know if I've been able to answer your question.
Yeah, I'm listening to this and I'm like, this must have been quite a difficult time for so many reasons. Because once you're facing this uncertainty with your visa, you're facing the uncertainty with managing your expenses, and now you have a family, a young girl who is looking up to you, and now it's glad to know that she's now grown.
Yeah, she's now grown. She's 8.
She's going to be the PhD memory.
She is. And I remember my supervisor had told me something. He said, Ileane, if it was possible to put her name on your PhD certificate, her name should be there. I remember
think I
so
support
much.
your supervisor on that one, because that was your co-student. I don't
She
know
was.
if there's a student and there's the main student and then there's a co-student. Now, as you're juggling your life with your co-student, you see, there are a lot of things that have come up in this conversation. And one of the key challenges that now even most students face is dealing or interacting with their supervisors. Because getting a PhD is one thing. getting a PhD with the right supervisor is a whole new experience. And I know this on a personal level because I have gotten to meet students who cannot work comfortably with their supervisors, right? So one thing that comes up is how do we, if at all there is such a thing, how do we start thinking about managing the supervisor?
This is a very interesting question, and one of the ones that I know a lot of PhD students would always ask. Your relationship with your supervisor, it can either make you or it can break your PhD experience completely. I've had DMs of people. I think I made a video that went viral. I think that video is about 200 and something K views. I never knew that that kind of video would ever go viral because it was almost 8 minutes long. Who
I
is
think I
watching
have
an 8 minutes
yeah,
video? Who is watching?
I am one of those people who are watching that.
Oh, who has the time to watch an almost 8 minutes long video? But yet someone said, "Yeah, I've watched this video multiple times," and it was that from that video that I got people DM me, and there is one particular girl who DM'd me from Canada. She's African. I'm not going to say where the country she comes from, but she's African. And she sent a message to me and said, "All you said is very true. My PhD journey has been she said, the worst part of my life has been pursuing a PhD." And she said, because I did ask permission from her if I could make a video, but I'm not going to say her name, everything, her identity is not going to be, it's not going to be excluded out there. And she said that was fine. She said she's had a very difficult time. It's been the worst time of her years, I think 2 or 3 years. She's even had a mental breakdown. She's on antidepressants. She's seeing a psychiatrist. And I couldn't respond. All I did was, "Can I have your telephone number?" And she sent a Canadian number. And I remember I was in the UK. I gave her a call. I said, "How are you doing, firstly?" And she started telling me how, she's even been very, suicidal. I don't know if I'm permitted to say such words here. But when she thinks of her mom, she doesn't want to do anything stupid and all. And I asked, I said, which part of the PhD is so difficult that has gotten you to this state? And guess what? Her supervisor. She doesn't have a good relationship with her supervisor. I'm going to tell you what I told her to do, but let me answer your question first. Like I said, your relationship with your supervisor can either make you or it can break you. The first thing I'll tell a student is always set clear expectations early. So we're talking about the fact that you've gotten into the PhD already. This is the one that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the pre-PhD one, but you've gotten into the PhD, you have your supervisory team. Set clear expectations early with them. Have an honest conversation about the communication preferences that they like. Some people don't like you sending them emails at midnight. They just hate it. And that could trigger something. You never know. So you need to have a conversation about the communication preference, the feedback timeline, and the availability. These are people, it's like you are in a marriage relationship when you're doing your PhD, because these are like your spouses, I said. So the closer relationship you have with them, the better for the progression of your PhD. So you need to set clear expectations and all. Document your meeting is very important. Always follow up discussion with emails and all. Take ownership of your projects. I tell students that sometimes it is your work. You need to take ownership. So it's your responsibility to drive it forward. Don't wait to be told. Some supervisors, especially, where we come from, most times we're kind of like spoon-fed. You are Kenyan, so I'm happy that we are from the same kind of culture. We kind of want to be spoon-fed. But an average English, Scottish person believes that a PhD is an independent kind of learning. You need to push it. You don't wait for them to do that for you. And also seek multiple mentors. Your supervisor doesn't have to be the only one to guide you. Identify academics, postdocs, professionals who can guide you. And above all, what I tell PhD students is be humble. Be very humble. Be very humble. The fact that it is your project, don't go putting your shoulder that you know everything. Remember that your success is directly and indirectly your PhD supervisor's success.
Mm-hmm.
There's an happiness that comes when your PhD student passes Viva. I have taken a PhD student to completion. I know what it feels. So I'm not talking about from other people's perspective, but from mine, because one of my PhD students just passed their Viva. That success comes to me. It's going to be on my CV that I have successfully supervised a PhD student to completion. Who's better being happy about that? So I always believe that there's really no supervisor that wants you to fail. There is none, because it goes back to the supervisor. Oh, that supervisor was not able to get the PhD student to completion. It doesn't speak well of the supervisor at all. So they want the best. But when you come in and you want to start behaving like you know more than your supervisor, sometimes that's where the clash comes. Your supervisor is telling you do this, you are saying no. I'm not saying that you cannot disagree to agree with your supervisor, because it's your project. You are driving it. But know that they are expert in this field. They have been there before you. So when they tell you to look at it this way, all you need to do is just probably listen. Maybe later on, if you're struggling with it and it doesn't align with maybe your method, your research, your own understanding, you could come back to them and say, I don't think I'm really in tune. Why don't I look at it this way? But sometimes that's not how PhD students do. They go ahead arguing with their supervisors, and that is what brings in conflict. Be humble. I will say from my experience, people would always say that I was very lucky with my supervisory team, but the truth is that my DOS was somebody that people were scared of. I remember people were really scared of. I remember them telling me, he's your DOS. Why did you make him your DOS? And all I found out from that guy was that he never liked excuses. He didn't like excuses. He wasn't the kind of person, and he wanted the best. The first day I met my supervisor, and the first draft, not the first day, the first draft I submitted, he took my work, and I think I have a paper I can he took my work and he swinged it like this. And he had put, throughout all the work, this is a work I spent a lot of time to, 5,000 words.
I think, as you're speaking, there's this word I usually get a lot. It's called the word vague. I don't know who gave professors that word, but it's the worst word I want.
It's too vague.
It is the last one I want to hear, because I hear that more than sometimes I even tell my prof, I know you're going to say it is vague even before we start talking. So, but then it usually turns out, sometimes they also sit down and tell you, actually, these things are done in your best interest.
It is in your best interest.
At the end of the day, you are the student learning, right? So we are trying to show you the way. So when I say it's vague, it's nothing personal, right? It's just trying to guide you to the right direction. But then
Yeah, that's another thing. Another thing is the part of the world where we come from. That's why I'm very happy that you are Kenyan, you're African, because we almost have the same culture. We take things personal a lot from where we come from, a whole lot. And that's why some of us would have problems with our supervisory team. We do not know, let me not say we take things personal. Let me find a better word to use. We are not used to constructive criticism where we come from because we didn't have it. And so when a supervisory team gives you a constructive criticism, we take it personal. We think they don't like us. A whole lot of things comes into our head and because of that, you start having issues with your supervisor. But at the end of the day, I remember my supervisor. I remember when I won a fund. I won 2 fundings when I was in my PhD. And I remember what he told me. He said, Ileane, I've been doing this to you because I want to refine you. I want, if somebody comes arguing with me about it, I said, no, leave that one. That is a real PhD candidate. And I remember when I got my job, nobody has ever given me the kind of reference Pascal gave me. The reference was amazing, from the things he said, from, by my intellectual he even wrote something. He said, Ian is one person that I've never seen get angry, because I never used to. Was I angry inside me? Joseph, I was. But do I show to Pascal? I never did. So sometimes when he even said, did you look at what you just did, Ian? And I said, Prof, I think I didn't look at it. I'm just going to accept it, because I wanted to build that good, strong relationship with him. So sometimes I never used to argue with him. I remember one day that Pascal got at me so much that I got into the toilet that day in campus and I busted and cried. And my second supervisor, she's like a mother. She's very motherly. She has a grandchild. She sent me an email and said, Ian, are you still on campus? And I said, yes. And she said, can you meet me up here? And I went. And she gave me a very big hug. I said, you know that Pascal doesn't hate you. I said, I know. So I ended up having a very good relationship with even someone that people tagged very difficult. I had a good relationship with him. And that is what some students don't know. You need to be very humble. You need to be able to understand your supervisors too. What do they like? What don't they like? And if some of them are the ones that you need to be, I'm trying to look for the word, their egos to master. You do it. Look, you want to just finish your PhD successfully. That's what matters at the end of the day. But some students don't know this. This takes me back quickly to the student that I told you who called me from Canada. And I said, do you know that your supervisor might not even be knowing that you're going through all this? That's what I told her. I said, do you know your supervisor might not know it? I said, go right to your supervisor that you want to see her. It's urgent. Go into her office. Be vulnerable in front of her. Tell her your struggle. Tell her that you are even seeing a psychiatric. Let her know that you want to do this PhD. You want to do it. It's because I think it's the supervisor that has the funding. Tell her that you don't want her funding to go to waste. But these are some of the challenges that you have, and that you will need her support. Because she might not even know. You might just be the one saying, oh, my supervisor is very mean, my supervisor doesn't care. But the lady doesn't even know what you're going through. And that's what I told her. I said, go and just show her your vulnerability. This is where you are. And build that relationship. So my advice, when I say set clear expectations, I think I've mentioned about 4 things. The major one I'll tell PhD students is be humble.
I like to assume you have interacted with a good number of students. The humble one, the proud one, and the average one. Now, in all these students you have interacted with, of course you've met different characters, and it's rewarding. Actually, it's a good experience that now you are in an international environment. I I usually enjoy seeing you dancing with your students in class.
Oh,
I was telling one of
I
my
love
friends,
that part too.
I was telling one of my friends that if this happens to be me during my masters, I think I will be the one asking you to do that dancing every other lesson, because it brings you close to your student. Like, it makes you comfortable in class. So you will even be like, I don't want to come to that class, but there's that dancing part. So let me just come because we will do the
Yeah,
dancing.
I do have a student who told me he's from, I think, Pakistan, Nepal or Pakistan, I can't remember. And he came to me after a class and said, I don't have a family in the UK. It's been very boring. The weather is cold. But guess what has kept me going? Your class. I look forward to coming to your class every day, Ileane. It just makes me feel at home. And I think I was almost tearing that day when he said that. He said yes. He looks forward to my class. And the truth is that I just wanted to build that kind of environment to students because I'm exposed to more international students and all. And I just wanted international students to be able to speak to me if they were having challenges because I was once an international student and I know how it feels. So and luckily I got into the space as a lecturer. So I kind of wanted to give back. I'll put it that way. Let these people come to me. Let these people be free with me. Let these people tell me what is happening. Let's get into the class. Let's do Afro music. I think you've seen one of my video where this was Scottish student asking me, where are you originally from? And I said, okay, 1 second, I'm coming. And I played that. And I said, guess where that is from? And they know Davido because a lot of people know
Come on, if you
Davido.
don't know that one, are you from Mars?
Exactly. So, and you can't even imagine that the student union, which is even run by some Scottish people, reached out to me to do TikTok with me
Yeah.
because of what they see me do on TikTok.
And that goes to ask. I remember this conversation you were having about people in academia. I was about to say we, but I don't know very certainly that I'm placing myself
you're in
there.
academia for now. No, the fact that you're doing PhD, you're in academia. Maybe later on when you're done with the PhD and you decide to go to industry, but for now,
Yeah.
you are in academia.
We tend to have some kind of seriousness that is out of place. I remember that because that's not the exact words you said, but why did you say that statement? That there's some kind of seriousness we have that might not go in line with the current and future generation of students that we have.
If you look at the world right now, what is in the world? It's social media, it's TikTok, that's where you see the young people now. That's where they are. If someone ever told me that I was going to go on TikTok, I'd probably say, "We're doing what on TikTok? What can I do on TikTok?" But I realized I used to do a lot of LinkedIn, but I realized that LinkedIn was too serious. And there is nothing wrong with being serious. Don't get me wrong, I'm a very serious human being. I'm a very serious lecturer. But to get those young ones, you need to relate like them. You can't just go on. And I think one of the things that took me out of LinkedIn, I'll say took me out of LinkedIn. I still do LinkedIn and all, especially if my colleagues, people post something, I go to repost it. If I'm tagged on it, I'll repost it. However, I found out that many PhD students were having more of imposter syndrome. Already, imposter syndrome in academia is very high. Everyone has imposter syndrome, don't get me wrong, even people in the industry, but I think it's higher in academia. But it then becomes worse when a PhD student, a foreign PhD student, opens their phone, their laptop, goes on LinkedIn, and people are saying, I am happy to share that I just published this. I'm happy to. That imposter syndrome comes in because even you haven't even written your chapter 1. You are still struggling to do your chapter 1. So I wanted a space to let people know that behind all those posts of people saying, I'm happy to, man, these people had gone. Do you know the rejection they went through? You have no idea. So I said, okay. I started doing TikTok and I saw that it was a fun place. I said, okay, this is the place to come and let people know that, look, you see that's your chapter 1 that you're doing very well. Don't be intimidated by what people are putting out there because their story could have been worse than your own before they got their paper accepted. I have a mentor, he's in Germany. He has published in 5-star journal twice. Some professors haven't published in 5-star journals. He has published twice. Before his first paper was accepted, he was rejected 70 times. Would you believe that?
That's high.
That is high.
Very.
But he kept pushing. And now he's sitting down with great editors, because definitely they are going to want someone who has published in four-star ranking, and he's published a whole lot. So he sits with top editors. I know. So I wanted to, the reason I came on TikTok, I just wanted people in academia to feel that you are doing your best. Keep pushing. Just keep pushing. And also, I wanted students to be able to, as I already told you, I came from an academic family. The serials, the glasses, sometimes they don't look like real human beings. They look like people that are from space. So I wanted students to know that, look, you can be brilliant, but you can also be human at the same time. You can see me and say, hey, what's up, academic buddy? And I'm like, that is what I wanted with my student. And let me be honest, that even gets my student to be more serious. You know why? They don't want to disappoint me. But in the traditional way, where we think is all about being serious, we're putting fear into them. They tend sometimes not to do too well. The fear is too much. But when you give them that opportunity, they don't want to disappoint you. They don't want to. So they are going to do their very best to come to class, because they enjoy the class, to do the assessment because they don't want to disappoint academic body. And you see, sometimes I go on TikTok live and my students are coming and saying, that's my lecturer. Oh, I scored 72. I'm not even the one who marked it. So that it will not be as if, maybe I knew them, I marked it. I don't mark most of my models because I have associate lecturers who teach my model. So they are the ones who mark it. And they will come on my TikTok. One even came one day and said, I had 80. I said, who gave you 80 on my model? Who gave you 80 of my models? I know. So yes, that I just wanted to change the narrative of academia. I wanted to show people that we are not as boring as people think. I wanted to show people that we are also human. I wanted to show people that my student can just come and say, what's up, academic buddy? How is everything going? And I can sit down and have coffee with my students, and we could talk about whatever issues they are going through.
That kind of an environment is usually productive, because people are going to be more open and they would want to engage more. Along those lines, it also means people are going to be open to talk to you. So what is the I don't want to use the word silly or stupid. What is the worst thing that you've ever heard from a student about research and their work?
I don't think I've really, because from the beginning, when a student is telling me, academic buddy, I have an issue I want to discuss with you, I said, you can discuss everything research, don't discuss anything financial. I'm not able to do anything financial. So I'm already pushing it back that don't discuss any. I'm trying to think if I've had the most awkward thing with any student. I don't really think so, apart from the fact that it's just the normal struggle of every PhD student. Just the normal struggle of, the only thing that I know, which is even still a problem for me, even as a lecturer, is sometimes, and I'm going to use that word again that you don't like to use, we can be very vague with the question that we ask. So I'm going to use the word that you don't like. I'm sorry. We use very vague words. So I get people ask me question even on my life, and I'm like, that's too broad. Can you make it very simple for me to understand what you're trying to say? I don't know what you're trying to say. I know. So I think that's the only thing. But funny or awkward, I don't think I've been asked anything funny, or I would say maybe sometimes it's the research topics that students will send to me and say, what do you think about this academic body? And I'll just look at the research topic and say, oh my God, what kind of research topic is this? Other than that, I don't think any awkward.
Now, you've been in academia for some time, and academia, I will tell you one positive thing I usually get about academia. You'll have time. I don't know if that statement is true though, but people
No.
keep telling me you'll have time to yourself and your family and friends. What is the best thing and the worst thing about this career?
Okay. I think I've made a video on that. And I think I made that video in a very fun way, where I think it was about there's a Davido song where he talked about the fact that the names of the girls that he likes, and he's like Former, that one was a gold digger and something like that. And I think I talked about the remuneration, the money part, the salary. So that one is a gold digger. And the one that I love the most, I think Philomena, is the flexibility part. I think people confuse flexibility and time. Academians don't have time, but there is flexibility in academia. You need to understand the difference. As I speak to you, my laptop is here. I have grading. I'm on leave. If you send me an email now, it's going to show automated email that I'm on leave till 23rd of July. But guess what? I'm still working. I'm still trying to grade. Does it show that I have time? No. But is it flexible? Yes, because I'm not in an office where I am sitting and clogging in at 9 and clogging out at 5. I can decide to wake at 2 a.m. to put this grade, as long as I'm meeting the deadline. So that's the difference. We don't have time. We work a lot. I'm flying on the aircraft. My laptop is open. My daughter will always tell me, can't you just close this laptop for once? And I'm like, but I have things to do. But guess what? Those things that I have to do, it is not compulsory that I have to be on the system at 10 a.m. to do it. I can decide to be on that at 1 a.m., my own time. That is a flexibility that we enjoy in academia. There is a lot of flexibility, but it also comes with some side effects. Let me call it side effects, because I want to talk about the fact that, when you take medication, it's healing something, right? But sometimes comes with a side effect too that you have to manage. So the fact that we have flexibility comes with side effects. And the side effect is, if you're not a very disciplined person, you'll get into trouble not meeting deadlines with academia. You will not be able to do a whole lot of things because no one is chasing you. You are not sitting on your table and maybe your bosses comes and said, oh, can you do analysis of this? Can you do this? Can you do that? No one is throwing that at you. You just be able to manage your time. So in academia, you must be very good with time management, which is one of the things you learn as a PhD student. I'm sure, Joseph, you were learning that as a PhD student, time management skills, because you need that so much in academia. Because your supervisor is not going to wake you up and say, Joseph, stand up and get this draft done. No, he's not going to do that. He just expects that on the 31st of the month, Joseph is going to submit their draft. But they're not going to come to your house and wake you up to do that. It's the same thing with academia. No one is going to wake Ileane and say, you have to put this course for students. No one is going to wake me up and say, you need to publish. Nobody's going to do that. I need to find the time to be able to say, I'm going to put 10 hours every week into my research because I need to put a publication by the end of the year. I need to push something out. I need to attend to a conference. I need to do this. I need to do that. So we enjoy that flexibility, but not time. We don't. There's no time, but there's flexibility, especially for a young mother, I would say, or a young father who wants to raise a young family and wants to have that flexibility of time. I give an example. I'm with my daughter in Scotland alone. I have time to drop her in school and I have time to pick that. Industry would never have given me such flexibility because my timetable, it's always after 9 a.m. because I've dropped my daughter. So most of my teaching starts at 10 and most of them end at 2 so that I can pick her up by 3. If I was an industry, there is no industry that can give me such flexibility. but academia gives me.
Now,
And so you need to tread, and there is more in industry. If you have a PhD and you're able to get into industry, because there are some organizations that just want PhD people, and you are able to get with your PhD into industry, you're going to make like ×3 of what I make in academia. But you have to know, is it worth it trading that flexibility to the money? So you need to know. For me, it's worth it at the moment for me to be in academia, because I'm able to raise my family because I have flexibility. So I ignore the money part because I'm raising my family. So that's the thing with academia.
it is a long debate.
I know
It is a very
you
long
don't look
debate.
like one that wants to go into academia, because maybe you're thinking of the money in industry.
No, I have my own reasons. I'll tell you offline. But then there's a very difficult conversation that we actually get to have. And for this specific,
and then I wanted to just chip in something, Joseph.
yes,
There's another thing about academia too. If you're a very smart, strategic person, you can still make money in academia, because you have that flexibility of time to even consult. You might not have that time in industry. Some academics make money just consulting. So these are all the things that you would explore to say, okay, which one works for me, because you have the flexibility to do that. I just wanted to chip that in, because some people always think, oh, academics, oh, they don't have money. I've met some very rich academics.
yeah. One of them is at Strathclyde, publishing books every other year. And he writes, okay, not necessarily every other year. That's a phrase I'm using. But
Yeah, I'm sure he's being called
yeah,
in public speaking.
Yeah.
And because they pay some of these academics very well in public speaking spaces, when they call you to be a guest speaker somewhere,
right.
They do pay. Yes.
Yeah. So there are a lot of things I know that actually people in the academic space can do that somebody on the outside cannot get it. But going back to my previous question, it's about a difficult conversation. I actually hosted one lady from the University of Florida in the USA. She was an engineering candidate. 3 years into her PhD, she decided it's no longer worth it. She dropped. Yeah. And it was a very, even it was my early days starting to do podcasting and talking to researchers, but it was a very difficult conversation because I was also in the early stages of actually my own PhD. So
that must have probably demotivated you or something.
So it was a very difficult conversation, but it was worth listening to and discussing. And that gets me to ask, when do you get to know that it's time to stop? I know it is a very difficult thing, especially to get to that side of the conversation from somebody who is there to, to nurture students to become the best out of themselves. But then, when do you know it is time to actually stop?
There's something I'll always say. A PhD is good. It's good to aspire. But when something is taking over your mental health, when something is taking over your well-being, it's better to stop. Maybe she got to that state. Maybe she was losing it. As good as a PhD is, it's not your life. There's life after PhD. If you get to that stage where you know, I can no longer take this, my mental health is at stake. If I try it one more time, I probably would end up being confined in a mental institution, or something would just happen to me. I'm sure you've also read, I made what motivated me to make the video that you saw that was almost 8 minutes. And I'm going to say it here. I think maybe I've said it in the video, but I don't really say it open, but I can say it here. My brother's very good friend passed on because of PhD stress. Was it worth it to lose your life because of PhD? Absolutely not. And that's what made me to make that video that day with pains, that these are some of the things you should know before you enroll. Because I was very pained. He passed on. Was that worth his life? Absolutely not. There are other things in life you can do. So maybe she had gotten to that point. And you've also seen statistics. Statistics shows that some PhD, I don't want to be misquoted because this is something that is going to the public, but statistics shows that PhD students do have a lot of mental breakdown. If you get to the stage where you know you are losing it, you shouldn't lose your life because of a PhD. Why should you? So I think the lady that you had the conversation got to that point. So I would say when you get to the point where it's like you're almost losing your life for just a cause of a PhD, then stop. You could always come back. But that time, stop.
Yeah, you can always take a pause, go out there, reflect, re-energize, recharge, and come back strong.
Yeah.
Now, you've been listening to this conversation, and I understand you're a lecturer. Are you planning to be a lecturer forever? So, what does the future hold?
Why do you want to put me? Why do you want to put me? Joseph, why do you want me to spill my secrets?
I could have also been like, what does the future hold?
The future holds beautiful things. The future is in the hands of God, and man proposes and God disposes. So I love academia. I'm going to be honest with you. I really, really love academia. I love the flexibility it gives me. I love the fact that I'm able to meet a lot of people. I just don't meet people in academia. I meet people in industry too. And so I do love the network that I have in academia and all. But of recent, you are in the United Kingdom. I'm sure you are seeing that the higher institution in the United Kingdom is getting a bit unstable. Academics are being made redundant. A whole lot is happening. And it's more like a wake-up call for me to say, Ileane, keep your net open. You love academia, right? Yes, I want to stay. What if I'm made redundant today? What do I do? I told some of my colleagues who, unfortunately, have been on the list of the risk list of losing their jobs. And I said, this is a wake-up call for me. So what does the future hold? I am keeping it open. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I can say.
I wish you well, and I hope to be seeing you around. It was interesting learning that you are just some distance away from where I do my work and research. Now, somebody who has listened to this conversation this far, they are seriously considering, or at least they are trying to gather and learn as much as possible about this whole space. So, what do you have to say as we part?
My top advice that I would give based on my personal experience from other people is be strategic. If you're currently a PhD student, wherever country that you are, I'm building a strong academic community. So I have people. I say that the only PhD candidate I haven't seen is from Antarctica. I have people all over the continent in my community. Don't wait until the end of your PhD to think about what next. That is what some PhD students do. They get so engrossed with their PhD, which is good because you want to finish on time, right? But don't wait. Don't wait till your third year. You get to your third year, your write-up stage, and then, bam, you've submitted. You did your Viva. You never thought of anything apart from the fact that you were just busy writing PhD, trying to, maybe publish. Sometimes you ended up not even publishing. You're rejected. Start planning from day one. And that is what I did, Joseph. My planning coming to the UK was from the first day. When I got admission, that was when I knew that there was a law that came into effect in 2017 by Home Office that PhD students who successfully completed 1 year were eligible to switch their visa. I think it's now 24 months.
Yeah, now
I don't know what
years.
I don't know what the new with this whole new white papers and laws that are coming out. I don't know. But in my time, it was 1 year. So when I knew that, I said, oh, so I can switch my visa. Okay. What are the things that I can do to put me in that pedestal of, getting a full-time lectureship in the UK? So I had already planned, and I knew attend conferences, put in for fundings, try publishing if you could. Unfortunately, I couldn't during my PhD. Network, do this, get certification. I started planning early. So I would say be strategic. Don't wait till the end. Start from day one. Another one, build a professional brand for yourself. What do I mean by professional brand? Whether it's through conference networking, I learned how to write. For funding grant because I attended a conference where a professor saw me presenting and he loved the passion, and he came to me and said, yeah, I know you're doing something in Nigeria, but I'm doing something in Cameroon on youth entrepreneurship. I'm applying for this funding. Is this something I said, of course, I want to learn. And that was how I learned. So whether it's through conference networking, you don't have to go to a conference outside the country where you are residing. They could just be conference next door to you. Go for that one. Whether it's social media, whether it's teaching opportunities. I started with college because I didn't have any prior teaching experience. So when I came, I started putting out my CV for colleges, and I got one. So create a profile people would remember. Somebody you never know who you meet at a conference, who opportunity comes and said, oh, I just remember that Joseph is doing this research on this. Oh, I think we can collaborate. Oh, they put an email through to you. You need to do that. Your PhDs, don't get too consumed and forget that networking is what is going to get you through that door. The PhD might open the door for you, but it might not get you through that door. So you need that networking. Another one is balance your ambition with self-care. It's good to be ambitious. Very, very good. The academic system can be it can be very ruthless. Let me use that word. Protect your mental health. Find a supportive community. Find people like you. And remember that rejection does not define your worth, because you're going to be rejected. Oh my God. There is no prayer and fasting. I'm African, and that's why I'm using this. That you're going to do that, you're not going to experience rejection. You will experience rejection. But know that it doesn't define you. Because when you start thinking that that's what defines your intelligence, you're going to give up. Diversify your skills. That's another thing I would say. Learn other things. It could be project management. You could be doing PhD in something else, but diversify your skills. Grant writing, public engagement. These skills make you more employable, both inside and outside academia. Because some people go into academia like, yeah, I'm going to PhD, and they'll keep saying, oh, I want to end up in academia. What if you don't? What if you don't end up in academia? What if you put hundreds of applications and you don't land anyone? But you've learned a lot. 4 years of your PhD. So you start diversifying your skills so that you are more employable, both in academia or even outside academia. And the last thing that I'll talk about is stay open to the non-traditional pathways. And what do I mean by stay open to the non-traditional pathways? People who get to do PhD, majority of time always want to end up being in academia. So I'm saying academia is evolving. Think about roles in policy, think about roles in consultancy, think about even entrepreneurship. Because your years of pursuing a PhD has taught you skills on even entrepreneurship. So be open-minded. Don't just be so fixed on, oh, I need to get into being a postdoc. I need to get into full lectureship. No, stay open-minded while you are doing your PhD. So that's just the 5. I think I've mentioned 5 points that.
Yeah, 5 very powerful points. Now, somebody may want to connect with you so that they can at least get to learn this wisdom and get to learn more about your experience and journey as an academic. That's the right word. They may also want
I always
to get...
confuse that sometimes, academia, but as an academic.
So I understand there are quite a number of platforms so we can use to reach out to you. So if I am trying to get in touch with you, at least to learn or maybe to at least know more about you and stuff, how can I do this?
I think I'm more present on TikTok, to be honest. So my TikTok handle is academic buddy. Just go. I think, to be honest, I think I'm the only one. I'm the only one because I'm the only one because
I think you should. What is it called? You should get a patent for that. Is it a patent or what?
I have to get a brand. I think a brand name. I've forgotten what it's called, but I've done it because some friends got to me and said, Yene, you need to get this. It's not patent. I've forgotten what it's called. It was actually a lawyer that did it. They came to me and said, Yene, you need to get this done so that somebody doesn't take this name. And luckily, when I sent it to the lawyer, and she was like, oh, no one has that brand name yet, Yene. And they were able to hold. So Academic Buddy is a brand now. It is a brand now. Yeah. It is me. And just a quick one on how Academic Buddy came to play. Academic Buddy, I saw a lot of young African girls on social media who thought that going viral was maybe them doing something, maybe showing their nude. And I wanted to show them that, look, you can be an intelligent girl, you can slay, and you can still go viral. I didn't even think that I'll ever go viral, Joseph, to be honest. So that was why I brought the name. I'm a baddie, but the academic side, the brilliance baddie. And look at me, and my video went viral, 1.4 million views. And that was how Academic Body came. And people loved it. My friends were like, Uyana, I love this name.
Yeah, I should actually have started with, why are you called the academic body?
Academic Body.
So that at least we get to
It's,
understand this whole experience.
yeah, it's just to encourage the young girls out there that, look, you can be intelligent and still slay.
Mm-hmm.
You can be intelligent and slay.
So we will leave the links to the academic bodies profiles in the description of this video. Guys, go check it out. And I hope you found something useful in this conversation. So just to remind you, this is the Management Diary, where we get to have serious conversation on matters research, career, lifestyle, and scholarships with accomplished scholars. And that was the academic body on the Management Diary. I'm your host, Omar Joseph, and until we meet again in the next episode, bye-bye.